Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday evening, April 7th, 2025. This is a regular meeting of the Gorham Planning Board. Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Iman, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Mr. Frank?
Here. Here.
Mr. Hager?
Here.
Mr. Benson?
Here.
Mr. Delaney?
Here.
Ms. Nichols? Here. Mr. Crucifuglia?
Here.
Was that correct?
Close.
We'll have to get a tutorial.
Crucifully.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder, please silence your cell phones. You don't have to shut them off, but we don't want to hear that magic ring. Thank you. Planning Board appointments, updates on our agenda this evening. As we all know, Mr. Burrows has served valiantly and has retired. He's got a full plate of other activities. We want to thank his service, and we did last month. And this evening, we want to welcome Mr. Stephen Crisafulli as our new board member. Welcome. Next, we have election of Planning Board officers. I'm going to look to Mrs. Ironman to please.
Do we have any nominations for office of chair?
I would like to nominate Mr. Hager.
Is there a second for that?
I would like to second that nomination.
Thank you.
Dave Walsh?
Is there any discussion? Does Mr. Hager accept the nomination?
I do accept. Thank you.
All those in favor? Mr. Chairman, you may carry on.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your vote of confidence. Next, we have to nominate a vice chair. Do we have any nominations on the floor, please?
I would like to nominate Bill as our vice chair, if he would accept the nomination.
Is there a second, please? A second. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Colonel, do you accept?
Yes.
All those in
Happy to.
favor? Colonel abstains. Thank you. We also have to nominate a secretary. Mr. Burrows did that very, very well. It's reviewing the minutes of the meeting, and at the following meeting, you come back and tell us if you found any edits, changes, etc. Spelling correct. Make sure Mr. Delaney's name is spelled correctly. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. But the floor is open for nominations for secretary.
I'd like to nominate Barbara Nichols.
Second.
Thank you, Colonel. Do you accept that nomination?
I do.
Any other discussion? Anyone else? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? You can't vote
for myself?
No, you can vote for yourself. I know that legally. You can. So that's good. So that was 7.
An abstention. We would count those as abstentions since you can't vote for yourself.
No, you can. You can.
Oh, pardon me.
No, I've
I stand corrected.
from
Thank
previous councils and school committees, I know you can vote for yourself.
Thank you.
Maybe not always appropriate, but thank you.
All righty.
Okay, moving along, we have approval of the March 3rd, 2025 Planning Board minutes. We do not have a secretary. However, Colonel, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, do we wish to also nominate committee chairs, subcommittee chairs?
Thank you. I was going to get to that, but,
Okay.
no, that's good, that's good. All right, so thank you, Colonel. So we have the Ordinance Review Committee, previously chaired by Mr. Walsh. Is there a nomination for the chair of the Ordinance Committee? Ms. Nichols, please.
I would like to nominate David Walsh as the chair of the ordinance and, of the comprehensive plan. and
Ordinance Review.
Ordinance review.
Ordinance review.
Thank you. Colonel. Mr. Walsh, you accept?
Yes.
Any other nominations? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you again, Mr. Walsh. And we have the Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. We have a nomination for that.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Russell Frank.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Frank?
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you, Colonel. Mr. Frank, you're all on board.
I accept.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Just had to have my moment in the sun.
Next month, Ms. Nichols will note that. Okay, to move along. Here we go. All right, approval of the March 3rd, 2025 Planning Board minutes. We do not have a secretary present, so I'm going to ask the board themselves if anyone has any comments. I went through and reviewed it, but please, Mr. Walsh.
If I'm on page 6 or 7, the bold section at the bottom under, just above other business, there's an awkward sentence in there. I think there's some words were repeated. Second to last line where it says, to the town about our notifications, to the town council for consideration. Just take a look at that.
Yes, I agree.
Otherwise, fine.
In bold, so we're looking at by planning board to the town about our notification to the council for consideration.
Okay.
Do you have a wordsmith something better? That would make more sense?
Oh, to the town council for consideration. I think that's it. I think just strike the words to the town about our notifications.
To the town about our notifications. You want to delete that?
Yeah.
We have a consensus on that?
Which is fine.
Yeah.
All set?
Yep, captured that edit here.
So that's the only edit we have. Any other questions, comments on the minutes? Is there a motion, please?
Move to approve planning board minutes of March 23rd as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second, please?
Mr. Frank will second.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any other discussion, any other comments on those minutes? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? So Mr. Crucifeli is abstaining. Thank you, sir. Chairman's report. Let's see. Well, I have already thanked Mr. Burrows. I want to thank him again. I want to welcome Mr. Christofoli again. Also, in your packet is a letter that is being drafted, has been drafted by the planning department to the chair of the town council, discussing our setback. We've reviewed this repeatedly. There was some wordsmithing that we wanted to update a little bit. That was incorporated, thank you. And now this is the letter that I want the committee, the board to review, approve. If you have any other edits or comments on it, we'll do it one more time, but otherwise, with your approval, we'll send it along. Yes, Ms. Nichols, please.
Make sure I'm looking at the letter regarding the abutter notifications?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any?
I just
edit?
wanted to make sure I had that letter right in front of me.
Okay.
You said setbacks,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
You already elected me, it's too late. Mr. Walsh.
Fine, that looks
Okay,
good.
anyone else? Thank you for this. If you want me to sign something, or you can give my permission to.
We can get you a version without the draft watermark on it to sign?
Already, I can come in early and sign it.
We'd appreciate that, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, by consensus, we're all set with this letter. Is that true? Is that a true statement? Thank you. Committee reports, Ordinance Review Committee. Mr. Walsh.
The ordinance committee has not met since the last time we met.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. Mr. Frank.
We have not met either.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Next, we have Administrative Review, County Road Mixed Use. Please, planning.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The committee met and approved a project on County Road at map 6, lot 14 for a mixed-use development. It also met and approved a project on Cedar Drive for a laydown yard in the town's Industrial Park West campus. And we'll be meeting on Wednesday, April 9th, to review a project proposed at Cherry Hill Farm for a farm market building by Shaw Brothers Family Foundation.
And that's it.
Those are the administrative reviews. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Moving along, item one. Item one is a public hearing, site plan amendment, Gorham Town School Department, Gorham High School. A request for approval to expand the Gorham High School kitchen and cafeteria by approximately 100 seats and to add a modular classroom building and 20 additional parking spaces. The modular building would consist of 7 additional classrooms. Map 106, L47, Zone UR. The applicant is represented by Owens McCullough, PE, with Sebago Techniques Incorporated. Planning like to kick this off, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So what you have before you is a project for, as you said, the addition at the Gorham High School of space for modular classrooms and cafeteria expansion. It was before the board in September of 2022 for sketch plan review. Since then, there's been some additional developments. The board gave some comments. The project's been, design work has commenced, and there was a public referendum in November of 2024 to actually fund the work. So now we have before you is the full site plan amendment with design work from Sebago Technics. This has been reviewed, and just to sort of guide the review here, some items of note that we flagged. Suggest in general themes are pedestrian access within the scope of funding should be looked at and potentially expanded. There are some stormwater engineering details that were flagged by the peer review engineer that should be revised. Similarly, there's some utility details that they flagged as well, relatively minor in scope that do require some revision. Landscaping, some relatively minor comments there, but we looked for there to be a note about not using invasive species. And lighting, we were looking for a photometric plan to be submitted, so we'd like to see that. With that, turn it back over to you and look for a presentation from the applicant, and happy to answer any questions that may come up during that or during the public hearing.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCullough, your turn. Yes, please, Mr. Frank.
Mr. Chair, I'm a substitute school teacher for which I get paid, so I have a pecuniary interest, I guess, and I would like the board to consider that should be evidence to recuse myself from this.
Is there a motion to dismiss Mr. Frank from this? Or do we feel, by consensus, that we feel and trust that he will vote?
So my understanding of the information we just received prior to this meeting was that he can abstain.
Correct.
We don't need a vote if he abstains. If he's looking for consensus, I don't see a conflict of interest, so I would be fine with him sitting on this and passing. But that's my opinion. That would be my comment, that I don't feel like you need to abstain and go sit in the audience, but that's just me. But I'm not sure that we have to vote.
I feel the same as Bill.
I do as well.
More than happy as
Mr. Delaney? Chris Foley? You're so new, you don't know what to say. I too share the same sentiments, but Mr. Frank, if you want to be recused, by all means.
Thank you for your confidence in me. I withdraw my request to recuse myself.
Thank you for sitting with us, and thank you for acknowledging that and describing it to us. I would like to also point out that the council at the last meeting also released the money that bond, they can go after those bonds. So the wheels are in motion. Now, Mr. McCullough.
I'm up. Great, thank you. Good evening. If we can get the screen up. Great. Perfect. Good evening. My name is Owens McCullough, civil engineer with Sebago Technics, here tonight on behalf of the town of Gorham for the project in front of you. With me is Norm Justice, who's the facilities and transportation director, sitting over there in the second row, not the front row. And Remy McDonald, one of our staff engineers who's been working on the project, is with me tonight. So as Damon indicated, we actually was 3 years ago that we had been in front of the board for a sketch plan review. This project was actually partially approved, not the cafeteria addition, in 2018 for the parking and some modulars out front, but that was only partially developed and then never went forward. But the project in front of you went to a referendum vote in November, was passed by referendum vote, and I'll walk you through basically the program of it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So it's really a two-part program. The first is a cafeteria addition to provide additional seating capacity. Those of you who have been in the school, and maybe Mr. Frank, who's been over there, has seen in noontime or during meals that it's pretty crowded in that cafeteria. Some of the kids end up, my understanding is, sitting on the floor in there and finding spaces. So this has been something that has been a need for a while, just to address existing capacity issues. So we will be building a new addition to the building. If you're on site, get you oriented. Here's the tennis courts. Morrill Avenue is, sorry about zooming so far out, but Morrill Avenue is right here. The main school building is over here. Tennis courts, track out behind it. If you drove out there right now, you would see that big gravel parking lot that is kind of a mess at times. So we will be occupying most of that area on it. There's some existing modulars that are on site right now, these three that will remain. So that's the location of the site. The cafeteria building will be constructed of similar construction to what the building is now. If you stood out there and looked at the building, metal banding across the front, some storefront windows and egress doors, and then brick on the lower portion of it. We'll essentially be removing those portions of the building, leaving obviously the structural components, and then adding an addition and basically rebuilding new construction, the same facade in the front of the building. It will have similar egress out to the modulars that currently exist now through the cafeteria. And then one of the other items that we'll be doing is building an enclosed hallway and access to the proposed modulars that will be installed. So the students won't go outside to get to the modulars. They'll be moving from the school to the modulars, back to the school within a secured ingress-egress pathway. Well, this sort of dark green that you see here, that's going to be a staff area, some restrooms, some ADA restrooms, and there will also be a utility closet in there for maintenance purposes. And then the light blue is the connector hallway that will come up to the modulars. The connector hallway in this whole portion of the building will look essentially like an expansion of the current high school, similar construction, similar materials, brick, likely structural steel framing, storefront windows, an EPDM roof system on it. Then as you come up the ramp, so these modulars, if you remember when I was in front of the board with Narragansett, they're about 3 feet off the ground. So this ramp system will ramp up, meeting ADA requirements of 1 in 12 pitch to get up to the modulars that will be put on a structural concrete slab. So the modulars, one reason the modulars are a more economical approach, and plus the town gets a lease payback from the state if they build them a certain way. So we actually get some money back out of it from state reimbursement for them. The modulars themselves will be about 112 feet long, 74 feet wide. There'll be 7 classrooms in it and a utility space in it. So these 7 classrooms that will be in 6 of them will be basically to accommodate existing programs within the building. So there are some capacity issues in some of the existing classrooms. So this will provide that space to basically downsize some of the classroom sizes, and they'll go into this modular unit. Then there's going to be an adult education classroom that will accommodate adult education. On the exterior of the modulars, you'll see 2 egress points. Both of those egress points will be a ramp system and a platform outside. We need those for emergency egress to meet code requirements, very similar to what we did at the Narragansett School. Building construction for the modulars will be basically conventionally framed. However they'll be framed and built, we're hoping this time, instead of ordering them from a manufacturer, that we can panelize them and get them built by a contractor that will still fall within the state guidelines where they could be dismantled, and we get a little better construction out of them. But they're built to they'll be built to the, well, which was adopted today, the 2021 IEEC and MUBEC that came in. So they'll all be built to that standard. Utility services into the buildings there'll be water and sewer, which is all on site. Water will come through the connector hallway. The buildings will be sprinkled. Fire suppression, fire alarm, all the same sort of things that are in the current building. And electric will come from within the building. Although that's for this part of it, we have to put a new transformer pad over in this location for the modulars, and that's because the existing transformer pad, which is located right here, is pretty much at capacity. There was some improvements done with LED lighting inside the building that gave us some additional capacity, and that capacity will meet what we need to do for the cafeteria, but we can't do everything inside the modular classroom. So we have to extend some power over to a new transformer for that portion of the building. Exterior will be vinyl siding, windows, doorway entrances into it. Damon mentioned about the lighting. We have, sorry that it didn't come in time for your submittal, but it'll be in the next one when we come back. But we do have photometrics now for the lighting. Obviously, our goal is to have shielded lights, enough to provide some safety for students and people using the classrooms, but yet minimize the light so it doesn't spill over the property line. The parking in front of the building, there'll be a drive-through connection, 90-degree parking with some landscaping in front. Our landscape architect has been on the site. There's some larger diameter maple trees out front, which we're going to save on that. There are some other trees that are located along the existing tennis courts that some of them are in pretty rough shape, but there's some spruce and some pines along there. Some of those will have to go by construction. We're going to keep some of the ones we can. Ironically, if the tennis court companies have told us that it's best not to have overhanging limbs and trees into the tennis courts, so we sort of solved some of that problem at the moment. But we will leave some of the more specimen trees along the frontage. The parking lot, Damon in his staff report mentioned about, we'll add some parking calculations for those pieces of the building that's growing. So a couple of things. Initially, we're not looking at any additional staff on the site. This is really to take care of some internal space constraints. The cafeteria the kids are already there. It's more so they're not sitting on the floor and really on top of each other, so to provide some more space on that. But Norm has been, as part of the school, they go through something called the NASDAQ, which looks at school population over time on it. It has a little bit of a blip coming up, but then it kind of goes back down and flattens out. But we are thinking that we could have potentially 2 additional staff members over the next couple of years. And in 2029, 2028, 2029, there's kind of a bubble, and it looks like could be 30 to 40 additional students. So Damon, applying that calculation, which is basically 15% of the students that you're increasing by, you take that number for parking and then 1-for-1 for staff. We're actually, I think it's like calculates out to be 5.5 for student body and 2 for staff, so that's like 7.5, but we're actually going to provide 20 parking spaces. Initially, those parking spaces will be signed for staff during school hours at evenings or nights, then similar to the parking in the front of the rest of the building. Adult education, folks can park in those parking spaces that go in for the adult education, but we really want to try to accommodate the staff. The school has made, just interesting enough, the school has made some adjustments in their parking policy on the campus. Apparently, used to be there was senior preferences on the campus, and they got the principal got some complaints that they saw a lot of open parking spaces because some of these kids were going off-site to different venues and not always there, and so the spaces were dedicated. They have changed that policy. That's no longer in existence, and that's helped with some of the other parking that's on the site, just some anecdotal information on it. Norm and I met with Chief Fickett last Friday, and one of the things that the chief has asked about, so we're going to shift the modulars. It hardly be detectable on the plans, but we're going to shift them 4 feet in this direction because we got a little bit of a pinch point right here that at the angle it's about 18 feet. The chief really wants 20 feet to get access in it, so we're going to make that shift. The chief has also asked if we can put in basically a drive-in that would be next to the building between the tennis courts and the modulars so that they could pull an ambulance in, or a fire truck in, so that they would have access to get a fire truck in case they had to get service back into this area of the modulars. So we're going to accommodate that as part of the project. And what doesn't show on this plan, which is something that we've just decided to add, is, one thing, the vestibule is gone here in this location because that's right in front of our fire connection services. So unfortunately, we had to lose that piece of the vestibule, which was okay. And then we're going to add a door on the back side here with a connection over here. So if there was an ambulance in here, they could go right in the door and right out the back into the back side. So it provides a very easy point of egress through the site. So a few subtle changes like that. So those will be on the next rendition that comes back to the board for review. Again, all public utilities into the site. There'll be an enclosed recycling and solid waste container in this location here. Direct access coming in. And one of the comments about pedestrian access, we had met with staff and what we agreed to, and Chuck's here and he can chime in on this, but we're going to install a sidewalk where the hand is that comes down around to Morrill Avenue. Everything else is interconnected within the campus. So you come out of the parking, you come across to a sidewalk and access up to the ramps. There's a sidewalk that comes over, crosses over here, and there's a very large 10-foot wide sidewalk that runs along the entire front of the building that goes all the way over to the other side and all the way around the campus. If you go in through the main, we're not, other than these doors here, mostly for emergency egress and adult education, we want all the students going through the front door, all the parents, all the traffic for safety going through the front door, which is another reason why we're doing the enclosed connector, so that there's no disconnect for that safety and security within the building. So that will happen for it. And Chuck, did I get that right? And if he's nodding, so I did. So that'll be added onto the plan. Stormwater management on it, right now, we're proposing a under-drain soil filter back in this location. At our next submittal, we may actually be changing that design. We're going to evaluate the potential to go to an underground system if the numbers and everything work. And it just, because of the confined area in there, we think that may be even a better option if we can make it work. But we are going to be looking at that. The other thing that came up at the staff meeting, we were meeting with Cindy Hazelton. This tennis courts were construction with land water conservation grant money. And one of the things is to make sure that there's public access over to them. So it doesn't show on this plan, but the next one you see, you'll see a pathway from the parking lot over to the tennis courts with a gate to get access to it. It makes a lot of sense because during the summer or non-school times, parking lot's there. Why not use it for folks to get access to the tennis courts? So we'll add that piece of it to it. Schedule-wise, if the project were to get approved here, we'll probably be back in the June meeting because I don't really have enough time to get back for the May meeting. But we'll probably be back in June if we were able to get through an approval in June addressing all the staff review comments. Then it would go out to bid this summer. Contractor would be selected probably late summer, construction starting late summer, early fall. Norm would like to have me have it under construction last night, but we're doing the best we can on that. But then it would go over basically a year cycle. Our goal would be to start construction in the late summer, early fall, and then the construction would go through the winter and through the spring and summer with the goal of having it complete for the 2027 school year, because it'll be 2020, into 2026, 27 school year would be the goal to have that in place. Behind the scenes, our architect is Grant Hayes Associates. Salis O'Brien's doing structural engineering for the foundations and all that. And then we have Bennett Engineering, who's doing all the electrical, mechanical systems, and they're hard at work putting those plans together. So that's our project. We're here tonight to make this initial presentation. As I said, there's some changes we're going to be making to the plans, and we would look to come back. So thank you. Norm, did I miss anything? Okay. I always got to give my client the last word.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. Now it's time for board members to ask Mr. McCullough of any questions, concerns, items, issues. Please, Mr. Frank.
In the absence of concerns and questions, just a couple of favorable comments. As firsthand experience as a sub, yes, visit the school. I've done, you can think of it as a site walk when I'm there. It's not trespassing because I've been invited, but yes, it's really, really crowded. The cafeteria, the kids eat in the hallways. They used to eat in the library, but we had to stop that because of, food gets dropped. So these are welcome things. And the parking, because I'm a sub, I don't have an assigned numbered parking spot. So I typically park what we call on the dirt, which is to the west of here. And I have to get there before all the high school seniors because they want to park. That's where they park. So yes, nice. Maybe I could get a numbered spot.
Norm? Thank you.
Just don't tell us you're doing a site walk at the site. We just had a workshop. Don't tell us that.
But I was invited.
Sure, of
So
course.
I was not trespassing.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
I think we heard a request for an amendment for a parking space. If I may, Owen's an excellent presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Members of the board?
No questions.
Because you know I'm going to have a few, so now's your chance, please.
Let it rip.
Thank you, Ms.
I
McCullough.
saved all the time for you, Jim.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your professionalism. I have a few questions, comments, and just consider the source. Looking at this particular view, the plan view, so we're coming off the new cafeteria, we have the corridor, that's a ramp. Is this all going to be covered, or is this going to be, it's not?
No, it's all going to be covered.
It will be covered.
It's a completely enclosed building. It'll be insulated, heated, the whole thing.
All righty, thank you. I'm just thinking of the aroma of having the dumpster right there in warm weather. Is it a consideration that maybe, I know you want to keep it near the cafeteria, I understand that, for refuge, et cetera. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. The vestibule is gone, correct? Did I understand that?
It is, that's correct. So we set it strategically there because there's a hallway from the kitchen that comes right out and gives them, they'll come out through, well, the vestibule isn't there, but there'll be a double door there, and they'll come out and have ease of access right to the dumpster. But rest assured, one of the things is this will be fully enclosed hallway, fully enclosed building, and we frankly don't like operable windows in these buildings because it messes up the air balance in it. So it will be fully enclosed and I suppose. Yes, the existing dumpsters are, thank you, Norm, the existing dumpsters sit about right here.
Okay. I'm looking to Norm, and you may or may not, you can just nod your head perhaps. I know, I'm well aware of this whole grant situation around the land that was the tennis courts, and we've been talking about this for 20 years. Has it been resolved to someone's legal satisfaction? No, okay, that's all, okay, that's all I need to know. I'll cut it there. Any other members of the board? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to ask anyone that wants to speak in favor of this to please approach the podium, take your name and address for the record. I see no one rising. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone that wants to talk opposing this particular project? I see no one rising. Anyone wish to speak either way on this particular item? There's a public hearing. I'll consider the public hearing closed. It's my turn now for the board to debate the merits of this. Mr. Walsh, please.
It appears to be a very good project. I've gone through it. Presentation was excellent. I have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Mr. Delaney.
It's budgeted, it's planned for, it's a good plan.
Thank you.
Forward.
Colonel?
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion.
You ready to go? Fire away.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to grant Gorham School District request for site plan approval for construction of a 13,366-foot building addition with parking and associated infrastructure at Gorham High School located on map 106, lot 45 in the urban residential zoning district based on findings of facts and conditions of approval as written by the town planner.
Thank you, Colonel. Is there a second?
Second by Dave Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. I will go through and ask each of the members of the board. I do want to point out that there is a lot of yellow, but according to our rules, that conditions of approval are based on all of these items in yellow disappearing. I'm looking to planning.
Well, that would be condition of approval number 3. Any staff and peer review comments shall be addressed prior to the board signing the plan, so it's up to the board to determine if that can be sufficiently addressed and overseen by staff.
Yeah, and this is just site plan amendment, right? So this isn't final approval.
This would be final approval
this
of
is
the
final.
proposed
This would be final.
amendment. Yes.
If you chose to vote in favor, to approve what you've just made a motion to the effect of, you would most likely like to add a condition of approval that this plan be revised as to what the applicant has just described to you this evening.
So I'm confused because the applicant said he would need to come back to us probably in June. So that's what confused me as to the procedures tonight.
I believe what the applicant was referring to was that you would come back with a plan addressing the comments that were discussed this
If-
evening
if
for
I
your
could-
review.
And also the revisions that he's mentioned, that they're going to make to the plan anyway.
Is it perhaps more preliminary approval? Because in context,
Yeah.
most of the stuff fits, please.
If I may. Site plans don't have preliminary and final approvals. It's either approval or table it. So the plan is what it is at that very moment, and then you either approve it or approve it with conditions, or you table it so that they can do revisions.
Right, and we have conditions because the conditions are written out in the,
Pages 20, 21,
Right.
22, correct.
right.
The app-
Then why would the applicant come back
We wouldn't need to.
before us?
Because they've just described revisions that they want to make to the plan.
Okay,
it's
so if they're going to
appropriate
update the
to-
plan, they have to come back and have the plan and have us approve the new plan,
Correct.
So-
the revisions.
A courtesy.
Mr. Chairman, if I just have a question, if what I was describing through the presentation was we're very comfortable with addressing staff review comments. We're more than happy to come back with those revisions to the board. But I guess I'm thinking that if everybody's generally agreeable to the approach, the rest of it is sort of detail-oriented that we've talked about with the staff, and we can just work with staff to get through those. But it's certainly up to the board.
Yeah, No, I'm just trying to figure out what the process is, and I guess I really still don't understand why they'd be coming back if we're approving it now. If we approved it now, why they would then come back in front of the board if all the conditions they're meeting are already in the motion that we're approving. So I'm confused.
Here's my 2 cents. We're approving this plan. Well, perhaps. We're approving this plan. As a professional courtesy, we heard that we want to tweak some things. And there's a professional courtesy, they want to come back and explain it and show us.
Ideally, what would happen, because he's already mentioned, the applicant has mentioned that they want to revise their own plan. Ideally, what would have happened is that you would table this pending those revisions being submitted, and then you review that new plan. That would be the normal process, just so you know.
So we can still vote on that motion.
You can still vote on that motion.
It could be defeated.
It could be defeated. If you would like to generally approve this, I would add a condition of approval that they revise the plan exactly as they've described it this evening and to what they actually need to do for themselves.
My professional opinion, I'll get you, I promise,
Okay.
is do not approve what was suggested, because when great minds get together and look at this thing, they might have heard something that we have said collectively and said, well, maybe we will move the dumpster, or maybe we will do this, or maybe we will move that, or maybe we won't. So my 2 cents is, I see a consultation going on, that's okay, to not approve with conditions of approval, based on what he said, because they may tweak it some more.
I just talked with Norm, based on our schedule, we can just come back in the first meeting in June, and we'll have all these revisions done, and you can vote on that. That's fine, because I'm I'm not going to be under construction until later this summer, so
Mr. Chair,
we're
I'd like
fine
to
with that.
withdraw my motion.
Thank you, Colonel. Ms. Nichols.
Just because we had the workshop prior to our meeting tonight and looking through our rules, just so I understand, the motion that was made was to approve this based on the comments that were made by the town planner and any amendments that were done by the board, as is recorded as part of this meeting, which is why it all takes place at the meeting. Because the motion says, based on findings of fact and conditions of approval as written by the town planner, that we actually could approve it, unless I'm not understanding the process properly.
Good practice would dictate that you actually physically see all of the elements of a plan in front of you before you approve it. The one saving grace for this board and this town is that you have a practice of signing plans. So, site plans. If you don't see something on a plan that you know should have been there, you wouldn't sign it. So I will say that much. Not every town does that. I wouldn't say it's good practice, because if you do it for one applicant and you let many things hang out there, and you don't have a plan that is 99% complete, every single applicant will ask you for the same consideration.
Colonel.
Mr. Chair, given that the applicant is willing to come back, it doesn't seem to impact the construction time schedule, so I'd like to make a new motion.
Fire away.
I move to table the review of Gorham School District request for site plan approval for construction of a 13,366 square foot building, addition with parking and associated infrastructure at Gorham High School, located on map 106, lot 45 in the urban residential zoning district, pending receipt of additional information and updated plans from the applicant.
Beautiful. Thank you. Well said.
Second by Dave Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Everyone on the same page? Everyone understanding what we're doing?
Yeah.
We're going to see Mr. McCullough hopefully at the beginning of June, if Norm doesn't get him in here quicker.
He'd like to.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Long overdue.
Yes.
How we doing, folks? Anyone need to take a break? Ladies and gentlemen, moving along, item 2, the public hearing, wood contract zone termination, Mitchell County Road. Proposed termination of the wood contract zone on map 6, lot 14, and reversion to underlying zoning, South Gorham Commercial District, Corridor District, excuse me. The applicant is self-represented. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Susan Duchesne.
It's
Oh,
a
I'm
public
sorry.
hearing. No, it's going to follow the planning kicks it off.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, this is the first time this contract zone termination request has been before the board. You have in front of you the existing contract zoning agreement, in case you wanted to read it. Generally speaking, the applicant has requested to terminate the contract zone that's been in existence for a little while, and they want to revert to the current underlying zoning, which is South Gorham Commercial Center. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Shane, please.
Good evening. Susan Duchesne. I've been assisting Christina Wood, or Mitchell, and she's here tonight if you have any questions for her, in developing her property at County Road. Initially, we started by trying to amend a contract zone that her mother entered into back in 2012 to be able to, we were planning like a tiny house subdivision over 55, yada, yada, yada. The board, the council was not interested in that. They wanted us to resort, well, more favorably back to the original zone and make it multifamily. So we've since been working with minor subdivision approval or site plan approval on the first piece of this. So the council voted to abort the original contract, I think a month ago. And that's why it's in front of you now, because I think the next step is you, and then we're going to be coming forward with another subdivision. I suspect you're going to see a lot of these. I actually took the time to look, and I think you have 16 contract zones in a mile distance. So I got a feeling you're going to see a lot of these. I think you've seen a few of them already. But that's where we're at, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
If I understood you correctly, the council has already agreed to cancel this contract zone.
Yes.
There's a confusion going on. What they voted on was to take it up and allow it to go through the process. So then it comes here first.
Okay.
You all have a public hearing, then it goes back there for a public hearing and the final vote.
For the clarification. Members, yes, Mr. Walsh, please.
I just have one question. When looking at the diagram of what lot does this play out to? Because when I look at the page 4 of 7, it says the contract zone showed was diagonal lines. I see that on lot 6-8, lot 6-14, and lot 6-19-1. Yet we're talking about 34 County Road. Could you just clarify which lot is 34 County Road?
Yes, so there was an original house out front, which was 34 County Road. Then she broke the back parcel into 2 parcels, one under the homestead exemption, which she intends to build a house for herself on, and the other is the remaining land. We went back to the people that purchased the house to make sure that they were agreeable to getting rid of the contract zone altogether, which they were. So the entire parcel,
So which parcel is it?
all 3 are part of that contract zone.
Clarification, on page 4 of 7, it is map 6, lot 14.
614.
The other map and lot numbers that you noticed, they also have contract zones, but it is not owned by this entity. The only conversation we're having this evening is about 614.
So the contract zone that is requested to be removed is just with 614. All right. So it's nothing to do with 6.8 or 6-19.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Is that right? Because I don't have it in front of me. Okay.
Any questions of the applicant? Following our procedures, 1 minute, please. So is there anyone here, this is a public hearing, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this? I see no one rising. Is there anyone here that would like to speak against this? I see no one rising. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this at all? I see no one rising. I guess I will close this public hearing, please. Moving along. Since the public hearing is closed, members of the board now will review and debate the merits of this. Please.
I see no reason not to allow it.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Colonel, you're shaking your head. Mr. Delaney, Ms. Nichols, Mr. Foley? Yes?
Send it to council.
You ready for?
Just waiting to kind of see Mr. Frank and kind of see if he's got an opinion one way or the other.
Not really an opinion. When I was reviewing this at home, I probably confused myself with the South Commercial Corridor and the crossroads. Is it the center? Is it the corridor? Like I said, I probably unnecessarily confused myself because we got 3, like same but different terminologies.
Yeah, map 7, I'm sorry, page 5 of 7, we can see 614, but it's kind of, the delineation is not as clear as it is perhaps on page 4, but it is hidden within there.
And as I said, the zoning would revert to the underlying zoning, which is South Gorham Commercial Corridor.
Commercial corridor.
Yep,
Yes.
the top of page 5. Yep, thank you. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Walsh?
I move to send the proposed contract zone termination to the next available town council meeting for a public hearing with a recommendation for termination.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Barbara Nichols?
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. I'll lead this off. I'm in complete agreement with this. Just getting a survey, consensus, see people's heads nodding. Any other debate? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. How are we doing? Any reason to break? Okay, we'll move along then. Item number 3 is a discussion, sketch plan review, Mitchell, County Road, a proposal to construct 30 units of a multifamily housing with associated infrastructure on County Road. Proposed contract zone to be dissolved. Underlying zoning is South Gorham Commercial Corridor. Map 6, question mark on the lot. That's okay. The applicant is represented by Annie Morrow, PE with BH2M. I'm going to look to where it's only discussion, I'm still going to look to planning, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. This is the first time this, what's going to be site plan and subdivision, and then we'll determine the access way as we move along in the project, but those all will have to be reviewed by you. So it'll be a site plan and a subdivision at least, and then some sort of roadway to be determined. This is, again, the same property you just spoke about. It has been divided into a couple of lots, and so we're unclear as to the actual lot number this is dealing with. So we need some clarification from the applicant to make sure that we're utilizing the correct lot number. This is now ostensibly going to be in the South Gorham Commercial Center zoning district, right as of this moment, until it goes through the town council. It still has that contract zone, but we're assuming their first meeting in May, they'll take this up. But that still needs to be followed through with. It is located within the pedestrian overlay zoning district, so we look for them to follow the overlay zoning requirements. It's also in the affordable housing zoning district, and there's an opportunity there for affordable housing if they would like to go that route. The rear part of the parcel contains wetland and forest canopy. Again, there's a question about whether a private way or a condo driveway. We'll see what happens with more discussion. They are planning to utilize domestic wells and subsurface wastewater at this point. There's no public facility running in that direction close enough, and so they need to provide some documentation for the water, and there's a calculation calculation sheet that we provide that gets filled in and makes that determination for you. Assuming that the zoning gets reverted to the commercial center area, they'll be following all the performance standards of that section. They'll be looking at the multifamily housing section, if that is in fact the route they choose to go, in fact, for multifamily. Let's see, there's a number of requirements that the that the fire chief has written in here, which are pretty much normal, that he asks for all the time for developments. So we look for the applicant to add things onto the plan and provide things related to that. There are public works comments related to the roadway, and we look for some clarity having to do with the roadway situation. And with that, I turn it over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. There's a lot of information on that. Ms. Morrow, please.
Good evening, Andy Morrill, civil engineer with BH2M. So I'm going to try to I'm sure you guys are sitting there wondering, what exactly am I looking at here? So I'm going to try to spell this out here for you. This is a 15.44 acre parcel at 34 County Road. Contract zone was placed on the parcel in 2012. As we just discussed, the last item, the applicant is looking to remove that contract zone. The applicant did just get recently site plan review committee approval for an administrative site plan on the parcel. That consisted of a mixed-use condo development consisting of a commercial building about 720 square feet in size, a single-family home for the applicant, and an ADA unit. Those items have been approved on the rear of the parcel, and hopefully the applicant is going to be starting construction on those shortly. We hope to have a pre-con meeting with the town later this week. The remainder of the parcel is what we're here to discuss this evening. The applicant is looking to do a sketch plan review with you guys. What they're hoping to do is a 30-unit condominium project. As I've shown it on the sketch plan, there are 6 4-unit buildings and 2 3-unit buildings. Access to the site will be from a private access drive owned and maintained by the HOA. I believe going to be built to the urban access standards. That's certainly something we need to work through as we move through the process. The last 3 or 4 projects of this nature we've done, that's the approach that we've taken, is to design the road to the urban access standards. Units will be served by underground electric, drilled wells. We've shown one well per building is what we've currently shown. I believe that's the approach we're going to take, but we're going to work through that as we get into the design. Same thing for the subsurface wastewater disposal systems. We're showing 1 system per building, so a total of 8 total systems on the site. Those are shown on the sketch plan. We're here tonight to kind of introduce the project and get some direction from you guys before we jump into the design. This is a great opportunity for you guys to give us some direction on the project, so we're anxious to hear that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll throw it back to you and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow.
Yep.
Questions from the board? Ms. Nichols, please.
I would like to, is there in a part of the presentation that you're going to tell us about the back end of the property? And because that appears to be the really wooded end of it.
Yes.
In your plan, it looks like you're building everything towards the front.
Yeah, the back portion of the parcel is pretty wet, not really developable portions of the project,
So will stay natural?
yes, that's the intent, yes. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Mr. Walsh.
Andy, there was, just looking in here, there seems to be some question about what road standard it will be built to.
Yeah.
Can you clarify that or talk about what the current thinking is?
Yeah, so it's most likely going to be based on, we've talked to staff about this, it's most likely going to be based on traffic. So it's going to be based on the average daily traffic that is anticipated on the road. The urban access road standard allows for up to, I believe, 250 average daily trips. So if the project is over that, we'll look at the next classification of road, but we're going to ultimately have to do an analysis of the amount of traffic on the road and determine which classification of road we'll have to meet. And I'll certainly work with Chuck as we work through that to design the road to the adequate road standard.
Okay, and bear with me for a moment, will you,
Sure.
please?
Of course.
So I want to come back to planning on this. just some, when I look at this, and I looked at, we had a project on a past meeting on further down County Road. And as we look at South Gorham development, and I see, that project was a private road, some condos or homes, and I think there was a commercial retail part of it. Here we have another one. Totally understand why they want to do it. They have every right to. But I'm thinking about road connectivity. If we ever hope to see further development down there, kind of with all these private roads into these lots, and again, these are all private lots, I understand that, but it is going to kind of create a mess if we ever wanted to connect any of these roads. So, you come back to our comprehensive plan, South Gorham, this area is targeted to be higher density. This is density, got that. But I'm just looking at road connectivity and go, how are we going to deal with this?
How about if we put that on a workshop next month?
Fantastic. I really think it's an issue in reviewing the economic development, the draft economic development strategic plan. It focuses on this area, and road connectivity comes up there about developing frontage roads, back roads, and I see this and go, oh, how do we deal with it? So this throws me back to my question to Mr. Morrow: is if that road goes in, can it ever connect to anything, and what standard will it be built to if it ever could connect to anything? Sorry, again, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with me, but
Yeah.
that's the first thing that comes to mind when I go to this. Because, otherwise, I understand the applicant has the full right to ask to do this, but I'm just thinking of the future as well.
Right. So to give the board some perspective, let's just say we end up designing this road to an urban access standard, it's going to be designed and built to a town road standard. It's just going to be a privately owned and maintained road.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we couldn't have an access easement over it for the town to access it? Potentially.
Yeah, and that would work.
Mr.
Colonel,
Chair.
please.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge, we did receive a letter of concern with road traffic, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we received it and to make sure the applicant had seen that as well. And I know that'll be addressed in future, as the plans get updated. We'll have to do traffic studies and the like.
Yeah.
But it goes to, ties into previous comments. If we keep building these subdivisions on this road and we take them individually, it doesn't seem like there's a traffic problem, but if we take them all together, maybe there is a traffic problem. So that's a concern that's come up before on some other highways locally, 115 specifically on the way out to Buxton, that we reviewed within the last 6 months. So I just want to raise that again. But for you, if you could is there any concern with the adjacent lots to the right and left of the access driveway? It's hard to tell from the picture how close the buildings are, where the buildings are exactly. Are all the buildings still there? Is there any concern with how this impacts those lots or with setbacks, et cetera? You've got the septic and so forth that are close to the lot lines as pictured on the map. So I'm just looking at to the left and right of the access road, what the circumstances there are, any concerns?
Yeah, there's certainly an existing residence on either side of that access drive. Certainly, our design will be taking those into consideration to make sure we're not impacting those homes as part of this design. As far as the traffic letter, I didn't personally see the traffic letter, but if staff could send that over, that would be fantastic. We'll be sure to address that moving forward. Absolutely. Yeah, one of the items we did talk with staff about at the staff meeting was access to the site and what was going to have to happen out on County Road as part of this. I think the discussion was that there would need to be some kind of turning lane out on County Road, so that will certainly be a part of this design and approval process.
And you don't see any concern with the septic systems? And
I don't. Mark Hampton hasn't done the design of the septic systems quite yet. He's looked at this layout and kind of recommended these locations. Certainly, when we come back to you guys, we'll have a design that, you know, meets the state requirements and certainly is taking into consideration the abutters wells and setbacks and all of those things to make sure that we're not hurting the abutting lots in any way.
Thanks.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, what about a consideration for a site walk?
Always a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Frank.
Yep.
Consensus? Sure. We can look to planning to set it up? I'm looking to planning. Can you set up a site walk, please?
Yes. When would you
Coordinate.
like to do that? In the next month or so?
When there's no snow on the ground.
Maybe when it dries out a little.
Bud goes.
I don't mean to be facetious.
Hopefully the month of May.
As quickly as legally allowed to, or coordinated with the,
Out of butter notifications, so butters can join a site walk. So we'll look for what the requirement is for that, and then we'll pick
Okay.
a date.
okay.
That
Oh,
would,
far enough?
that would put it to late April, early May. Maybe not the same week as the May planning board meeting.
Okay.
Just so that,
Yeah.
you know, so maybe the last week of April. I'm looking, I know that that's the week after school vacation week. So perhaps people would have,
You could send out the survey and see.
we'll send a doodle poll, see if it
Sure,
works.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Please.
Just a couple questions. There's a question about the back part of the lot. What would, if you have these 24 units, or 30 units, whatever it is, who would have access to the back lot? Would the HOA be responsible for that back lot? It's going to be part of it?
Yeah, so this would ultimately going to have, it's going to be one lot that's
Okay.
going to have, say, 30 condo units here, plus the 3 units that are currently under construction or hopefully under construction soon. So ultimately, there'll be 33 units on this parcel, on one parcel, under one condo association, that condo association owns and maintains the entire lot.
Yeah, so this condo association is going to have quite a bit of open space.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, a very large piece of open space in the back, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I know the Recreation Commission will always come along and ask us, will there be any form of a trail or trail access to the public? So expect that question.
Yes, we do.
I know you've seen it.
Yes.
before.
Yep.
So you said there'd be four-unit buildings, 3 units, so these townhouse-type buildings. Can you describe what you're thinking?
Yeah, so they're 2-floor, correct? So they're shared by a garage, so there's a 1-car garage? Susan can help you.
Sorry. So, yeah, what she has come up with is basically the same tiny house, the whole, the goal with this was to have affordable housing, primarily over 55, mainly because of location, people that might want to work from home, or they're close to the hospitals, the mall, all of that, easy access. So they're basically a tiny house, but put into multifamily with a 1-car garage.
So a tiny house.
They're
in term-
one-bedroom houses.
So one-bedroom house, how many square feet?
Oh, I can't remember.
720.
700? Yeah, something like that.
700 square
Yeah.
feet, one bedroom, and a single-car garage.
Yep, and they'll have a loft for like work from home or grandchildren or whatever, craft room, whatever.
And a porch.
Okay?
And we suspect a lot of these buyers will be snowbirds. But they'll want a place to call home when they're here. Maybe they're going to sell that 4-bedroom house that they have in Gorham. They want to stay in Gorham, or maybe it's a divorce situation and they're living in 2 different houses. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what it'll be, but that's what I'm thinking.
Thank you.
So as for the site walk, we would love to have a site walk with the board. We'd like to encourage you to have one as soon as you can. We can be ready for whenever the board is able to do that.
Sure. We'll just coordinate it with planning.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions? This is discussion time. Are we ready to let Mr. Morrow go? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
How we doing, folks? Ready to move, keep moving on? All righty. Item 4, please. Item 4 is discussion. Sketch plan review. National Attachments, Old Canal Business Park. A request to construct a 9,800 square foot storage building with associated infrastructure. The property is located at 29 Old Canal Way on map 34, lot 3.002 in the Old Canal Industrial Zoning District. The applicant is represented by Chris Taylor, PE of Sebago Techniques. I'm looking to planning to please introduce this.
Mr. Chair, so this is the first time this application's been before the board. Said to add an additional building and associated infrastructure on an existing industrial site in the Old Canal Industrial Park. Some items of note. That this will require both site plan and subdivision amendments. Site plan because of the addition of the commercial building, and subdivision because they're looking to amend the existing approved subdivision to allow for greater area of impervious surface and disturbed area. I'll note that that is still within the parameters allowed in the land use code, what they're looking for. They may also require amendment to the DEP permit for the site. Additionally, we'll look for the board to discuss how on and off-site pedestrian accommodations will be made, noting that this is within the pedestrian overlay district. There currently are no sidewalks on Old Canal Way. It appears that they're providing adequate parking for the additional square footage of space. And we noted that there is a traffic movement permit for the overall subdivision development. The additional development doesn't appear to have any bearing on the traffic movement permit or require any alterations based on that. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn back over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Taylor.
Good evening. Chris Taylor with Sebago Technics on behalf of the applicant, Scott Guimond, and as of National Attachments. This site, as Damon mentioned, is an existing developed site in the Old Canal subdivision. There's a number of developments in that, or lots that have been developed already in that subdivision. It's a pretty industrial subdivision. It used to be a part of the industrial zone. Now it's got its own zoning district. And what National Attachments does is they are, just to give you guys a little bit of background of the existing business, they they acquire large construction equipment that goes on the head of excavators or loaders, large construction equipment, specialty attachments in the forestry industry, rock removal industry, that sort of thing. They bring them to this site. They make some minor modifications to them, and so that they can make the connection, those heads or whatever they're supposed to be doing for forestry equipment and that sort of thing, can connect to the excavator that it's going to get attached to. So that's what happens here at this site. This building addition or additional building that they're proposing is really just to continue that operation and provide more space. They need more storage space. This building would be used in a very similar way as the back half of the building. Currently, the front half of the building is kind of office administration for the business, and then the back half is storage and where they do these modifications and fabrications for the specialty equipment that comes in. And so this additional building would just provide them a lot more storage inside a climate-controlled space, and they could, make their modifications to it as well. So that's kind of the background and the need for this. As Damon mentioned, we are proposing more impervious area than what was approved to be on this lot as part of the subdivision. That's the only thing that would be coming back for subdivision approval. There's no additional dwelling units or changes to lot lines, anything like that. We're just asking for an increase in impervious and developed area. And as part of that, we'd be proposing some additional stormwater measures on the lot to treat the runoff from the new building and impervious area. So that's basically the overview of it. We don't really expect much additional traffic from this site. There's a couple of, some additional parking to meet the zoning ordinance, but we don't expect a significant increase in parking demand from this use. Again, it's just kind of a continuation of what they're already doing and providing an inside space to what's going on the site. I did see, Chuck, you had a note in here about the impervious area. And one thing to note, and that might have caused that confusion, is that the existing lot does not utilize the full 1.58 acres that was allowed on this lot. So there's we're going up to the maximum and then exceeding that with this proposed development. So that's probably where some of the math might have not have looked to add up, but just to answer that real quick. But yeah, we plan to come back with full site plan approval, or for site plan review submission documents and look for approval, but are here and would love to have any feedback from the board on this and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Walsh, please.
Yeah, as I understand this, excellent explanation, it's just additional space for existing business. If you were to not have to put in any additional parking, could you reduce that impervious area and thus improve the math?
Yeah, so we really tried to put the parking in a location that was utilizing, that could double already as circulation or storage if it wasn't being needed. So we didn't bump out the parking to create specific dedicated parking spaces. We were trying to put them in a spot that made sense where they could be used for parking, but if no one was parking there, then something else could happen. And so.
Okay.
Colonel, please.
For the staff, I understand this is within the pedestrian overlay, right? So that requires sidewalks?
It does.
Yeah, so why, I don't understand why an industrial, we're having a sidewalk requirement in an industrial space. This seems to be, because didn't we just review and pass the new sidewalk?
The pedestrian
overlay?
The pedestrian overlay was put over this. The council committee went street by street and looked at every street and included it over this. So,
For example, there's no sidewalks in the larger industrial center of the town, and we've had this sidewalk conversation, and when we've reviewed these projects before. So what recourse do we have as a planning board? We need to go back to the town and ask for a revision or get an exception, or if the board feels like this isn't something that we want to continue to address every time one of these things comes up.
I think if I recall, the sidewalk requirement in this type of space is if you have public transportation, if you had a bus that was traveling by, somebody stopped, they have a sidewalk, they can walk to their work area. I think that was the thought behind it.
Impetus, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't kind of work when A, you don't have the bus service, B, there's no sidewalks in the whole area. But let's take the cold storage warehouse on Main Street.
Yeah, that's a different conversation.
Right, but a sidewalk was required from the street up to the warehouse. Because you do actually have bus service traveling by there.
114,
Yeah.
25 year old.
25, yeah. So I think that's some of the background on it, if I recall. But it does seem crazy in this area, because what they'd have to do in this is pay a fee in lieu, right?
There are two options. Part of the ordinance says they have to bring a sidewalk to the development, and another says it needs to be within the development.
Okay.
It's part of the same sentence.
Right.
In the site plan ordinance, and the first sentence in the pedestrian overlay ordinance. But when you get into that ordinance, it's split into the two part, and then the within part. So depending on the situation, you might have to bring sidewalk or run sidewalk within your development, which is on your property, but
And-
not necessarily to it because it's 3 miles away.
Right.
So you have an in lieu fee to as a
Right.
choice. On the property, you do not. You either do it or you don't. But what we can do is review that with the applicant and go over it more closely. Since this is sketch plan, we can look at that more specifically and bring back choices for the board to make.
Thank you.
It's a discussion point right now. So
Right.
I think we're maybe in agreement, but
Yep. And just as a point of information, there's a fee schedule set by the council for the in lieu fee, and it's on the town's website.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, long-term, is it, if this is, we don't need to be charging people fees for something that's never going to occur, and
Should we have a workshop on this as well?
Yes, I think it needs to be reviewed. May have gone one step too far.
We will add that to the list.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
Any other questions for Mr. Taylor?
Thank you. With respect to parking and staff, approximately how many workers will be on site typically for a given day?
I'm not sure exactly when I've been out there. There seems to be about 7 to 8 cars, I would say, but I can get those, their employment numbers and staff numbers for you.
So with the new addition, would that increase the quantity of I shouldn't say permanent, daily on-site?
I guess it could. I know that they've got a lot of this equipment, so it's going to be, the building is for storage primarily, and so a lot of the equipment is actually on the property already, kind of in the back parking area of the site right now, so they're trying to get that inside to be a more stable condition for it. I guess it could be viewed as an expansion or an ability for them to expand so that it may lead to, an extra employee or two, but I wouldn't think it'd be significant, increase in levels of employment or people on site.
Okay, where I'm leading you to on this, with respect to the parking and the impervious area, have you given any thought that your big new building might have room for employees to park within it and thereby not need any extra outdoor parking? Just a thought.
Yeah, we were actually, in terms of the parking itself, we really tried to, it was shown on the plan for the intent of meeting the ordinance and not requesting a waiver. We think we can show parking within an area that is kind of needed to be paved for access and circulation. In a place you can see actually here, these are some of the additional parking spaces that we're proposing. This is up against the proposed building. It's under the cover. We were able to fit in another 2 spaces down here, I believe, in the existing paved area. There's some parking, some dumpsters back here already. This is actually a shelf where they store some equipment on it in here. So we're trying to utilize some of the existing paved area plus some of the access driveways, things that would be undercover just to meet the ordinance standard. But yeah, we're really not trying to bump out and increase impervious area because of the parking requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yep.
Mr. Delaney, please.
Do you think there's going to be a need for fire suppression in the new building?
I would have, I'm not sure exactly.
Sounds like it's mostly storage.
Correct, yes. There is going to be, I mean, it would be occupied as a, there'd be people in there. They perform some, maintenance and fabrication on the stuff, so, yeah.
What about hazardous materials? Like you mentioned welding, so there's going to be torches.
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not a code expert on if it's going to need fire suppression or not, but I'm sure that'll get reviewed as part of the process.
9,800 square feet, I believe. I thought the code was 10,000 square feet, I believe.
Okay.
Anything else for Mr. Taylor? We ready to let him go? All right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Night.
How we doing, folks? Good. Last item, we ready? Keep going? Item five is a discussion, subdivision amendment, Home Innovations, Meserve Farm subdivision. A proposal to make an amendment to approve subdivision off Mitchell Hill Road to correct an error resulting in insufficient lot frontage, zoned R, map 1, lot 12. The applicant is represented by Andrew Nadeau, PE, with Horizon Engineering. Glad to see you still awake.
For 4 foot.
Yeah, you've been patient.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to introduce this item, it's an amendment to a subdivision that was approved by the board at the end of last year, 8-lot cluster subdivision. It's a very minor amendment, I will say, to correct what is essentially a drafting error, where one of the lots had 0.04 feet of insufficient frontage. It was 99.96, it should have been 100. In reviewing this, there really were no concerns or comments to speak of. With that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And that minor clerical error, what was the dimension again?
0.04, I believe.
0.04 feet? Decimal feet? Oh, I know what that is. And it should have been what?
100, and it was 99.96.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you went from 0.04 to...
I will note, we did look for ways that this could be amended without having to come to the planning board. Unfortunately, there was no other option, so the board is up for you this evening.
Mr. Walsh, please.
May I present a motion?
Yes.
We don't, you don't care, right? I don't mean that disrespectfully.
Nope.
We're ready to move on this.
I'm here to answer whatever questions you have. So.
Have any questions for him?
I would just like to say thank you for your patience. We should do better at amending the order that we take these things in, and that's a failure. I mean, I could have made that recommendation. I apologize for you sitting here for 2 hours to wait for this. We should have done a better job. But
It's okay. I'm getting paid either way.
I'm ready for the amendment.
The cost of decimal error, right? I apologize. Mr. Walsh, you had a motion.
Yes, if I may, move to grant approval of the subdivision amendment for Meserve Farm subdivision located on map 1, lot 12 in the rural zoning district based on findings of fact and conditions of approval as written by the town planner.
Second.
Understand there was a little clerical error here, a little keyboard error, perhaps. Anyone have any objections to it before we go on? All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Last but not least, we have some other business. I want to throw this out. I've toyed with this idea back and forth. This is something just to put in the back of your mind. Some of the other boards meet at 6:30 p.m. Not everyone meets at 7 p.m. We wouldn't do this soon, but I'm just curious if you have thoughts about it one way or the other. Would you entertain meeting at 6:30, and then our cutoff would be 9:30. We would also move back that half hour. Of course, if we had a workshop, the workshop would be a little bit earlier as well, but just something to consider in the future. We would be out of here a little bit earlier, perhaps, if I don't get overly verbose, but something to consider. The other thing I wanted to mention, thank you for your patience, planning board rules, we had the workshop, but there are some things in here I think that need to have some edits, and perhaps if you have time, I'm not sure when we would do this, but if you have time to review these planning board rules, I think we'll probably set up a workshop at some point in the near future.
Can I tag on to that?
I guess so.
We have some planning board ordinance amendment that we still have yet to adopt from 2 years ago. We've been so busy doing other things, we didn't put that in front of the council yet. So we could do a workshop of both things again.
I think we just added like 7 workshops to our agenda. So please just coordinate that and let us know. Is everyone okay with that? I mean,
More
I'm not sure that we
education,
have
the
much choice.
Well, I think in terms of schedule, now the workshops don't always have to be the hour before the meeting. If we really have, want to bundle a workshop together, that might be something to consider throwing in as the second meeting of the month.
That's correct. We have the entire year schedule is already planned out. Mr. Crucifali, do you have our entire calendar that we shared with you? Okay, so you know when all the meetings are. First Monday of every month unless there's a holiday, et cetera. That's all I have. Anyone else, please? Yes, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, as I have mentioned in prior meetings, I represent the planning board to the Economic Development Strategic Plan development. That process has moved to, there is a draft Economic Development Strategic Plan that's out for review right now from the consultant. I've gone through it in detail, and my hope is that this strategic plan can be used as really the crux of the chapter for the comprehensive plan redo whenever that comes up next. I'm not sure they've met that goal, and I hope that you folks are engaged in reviewing this draft. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But if you aren't, please talk to Kevin and get a copy of that. I gave them a lot of feedback that there's some things it needs more meat on the bones, and so I'll go back to the consultant to do a review before it probably comes back to a broader audience.
Sure, thank you.
More to come on that.
Thank you. I did notice town manager has issued a preliminary fiscal year budget 25-26. If I read it correctly, it's minus 2.9%, 10 cents less on the mill rate. Well, I'm happy with that, but I could have read it wrong and it hasn't been approved. That's just preliminary. You know how those things go. Is there anyone else? Planning? Mr. Norton, please. Mr. Frank?
The item 5 with that .04 discrepancy in the paper, why was that not considered for like an administrative review instead of a planning board?
It's an amendment to a subdivision, so the only entity that can approve anything having to do with that is the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the Colonel's point was, it's too bad when we knew this was going to be a very quick item, it's too bad priority-wise it couldn't have been put earlier, but that could have been a member of the board looking at this saying, hey, can we move this up? As opposed to, because I know their priorities are set according to our.
Could that also have been a consent agenda item?
Potentially, I think it could have been, yeah, and generally, we follow the rules, so public hearings come first, and then the order that items arrived, which happened to come in last, so.
We did discuss putting it as a consent agenda item, but what happens is you always want to discuss it.
And then.
So once you start discussing it, it's no longer consent
Well,
agenda. So
we have to be better at that because consent agenda is a good tool.
if you see something that's consent agenda, focus on reading the entire thing. If you have any questions, call us up, email us. we can add it into the report, make an amended report or something, so you have something in addition. That way you have it right in front of you. You know, part of it's got to be the record, so there shouldn't be any questions at that point. That's a hard call, really.
Speaking of additions, on item 3, the letter from the Kings, will that be entered into the record?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, folks, anyone else? That's a hint.
Yeah. Move to adjourn?
Walsh, is there a second? Second. Mr. Delaney, is there any discussion why we shouldn't adjourn? All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
Before 9 o'clock, I like it.